It works. It works. So thank you so much for joining the Dynamo Art Talks. As you know, this is the last one of the program. And yeah, it was a great experience learning all this um, personal Kunstwerk of the artist. So thank you for those who joined, and thank you also for the technical support and all the Dynamo team who make this possible. And yeah, so I will introduce you. Of course, you already know Livio, and but if you don't know it, I will read you his biography. Livio Baumgartner was born in Bern in Jegenstorf, in the, or is it like Jegenstorf? I don't know. Jegenstorf, okay, in the 1982, and what is interesting of Livio is like he's dealing with the curatorial practice and his artistic practice, so we're very curious to learn how he merged these practices. He studied photography at the Schule for Kunst and Mediendesign at the Bachelor of Fine Arts in Medien and Kunst, specialized in photography. Also at the CHDK, he studied photography, and then he did the MA in CAP in Fine Arts at the Hochschule der Kunst in Bern, and he has been fellow at the Nairs Artist Residency, the scholarship of the Canton of Zurich. He has been at the Cité International d'Art de Paris, and many selected works of Baumgartner are part of the art collection of the Canton Bern and of the collection of the Zürcher Kantonalbank, and he's the founder and curator of the Die Diele, that is this of space near the Langstrasse. If you don't know it, tomorrow there is an opening, and he will tell us later and give us invitation of who is the artist showing up there. Thank you. Enjoy the talk.
So, thank you for coming. I don't see you. It's quite black here outside, but so I don't have you think you naked. That's also not so bad. Not yet. Okay, my name is Livio Baumgartner. Here you see me. It's a nice picture, and you saw it already on the invitation of this talk. I start with that picture because, how Anne said, I studied photography at ZHDK and F&F Schule. And this is also a work about photography and presentation, and it goes also in a social surrounding, because at this picture you see like in this time my newest sculpture, that's the haircut. I was thinking about, that's a long story, so I short it up. I had an opening and I didn't have a haircut, a nice haircut. So I was thinking about to let sponsor me a haircut. I did that also in Aarau the first time. And when you are in the aglo, in the surroundings of a city, or I know Aarau is a city, but it feels like aglo. There is a lot of hairdressers, coiffeurs, we say, and also several times in different cultures, the coiffeur, the hairdresser is also a social place, so you will find it anyway somewhere. So I was walking through Aarau and I found Livio Di Masi, the hairdresser Livio Di Masi, and so I was thinking about to go there and ask them if they do the most actual sculpture on the head. So they have to sponsor it also, because that's the whole thing. I extended then afterwards also to sponsoring with the printer and also with the photograph, because I do it on the day when the opening is. I go to the hairdresser, he cut my hairs. I go to a professional photographer, he takes a photo. Then I go to a printer and they have to do the graphic. Sometimes it's also really interesting to see how they do it, the graphic thing, and also the photo. I mean, in the exhibition, it was on the toilet door, this piece, it looked like that. And I don't know if I was also once collecting names of hairdressers. Often they are really creative in ways, but that's another theme. So I did it also in Wettingen. I had when I was on the high of my anyway on my birthday, the 35th, I opened my solo show in Wettingen. It was quite hard at 11 in the morning. That was the thing with suburbs, and Wettingen is quite proud to be the biggest village in Switzerland, just that you know it. I had this show in Gludi Sutterhus, and I was also looking around for the hairdresser, and I found the VIP coiffeur. I couldn't resist, and I had to ask VIP, and he did it. He didn't understand the whole concept, and was normally it's not the chief who do it. It's like the apprentice guy who learned to cut, and he do it. I said then, yeah, but he asked me if it's okay, and I say, yeah, for me it's okay, but your name, your logo is on this affiche, on this poster. You can, so it has also something to do.
Bad is your name.
Huh?
So if it would be bad, his name would be in the poster.
Yeah, so it has to do something with Bürgen. I don't know in English, but it's like, yeah, he really has to show up the whole, or he is responsible for that haircut, and he will see it. There was a really good photographer. There was Cosmic Pics. It's written on. He sponsored these photos, and also he came to the opening. That was quite good. And so that's it's a little bit the whole context about sculptures on the head, and photography and presentation and representation of something. This October, the hair getting long, so I had the choice to do it in Nitterdorf. I had a little show in Zurich in Nitterdorf in the Visarte space, and also there I found a nice spot where I can let cut my hairs. And there was you don't see it here so well, but it was Heroes and Flames, the hairdresser. And in this case, I had a really nice photographer, but she didn't want to sponsor it. But Sauter Copy sponsored the print, so go to Sauter Copy in Zurich, Nitterdorf. They are really friendly, and I think also they did a nice graphic job. Yeah. What I also has to say to this whole project is, I go there and I tell them my whole idea about this project, and I normally it's like a one-day work. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, you are artist and you let's sponsor your haircut," but it's a one-day work. I have to go twice, and I have to searching some coiffeurs and talk a lot with people. And I always say it's like you get a carte blanche for the haircut, but when you look back, it's almost the same. And yeah, I'm often also be a little bit disappointed, because I would give this fucking artist like I would bleach him out, or the beard, or cut off the beard or something. Yeah, I don't know. I would play a little bit this game, but till yet they just make this hipster cut I can do normally. Normally I cut my hair at myself, so I don't have to go to the hairdresser. That's another point why I didn't have a haircut before. But this whole thing with the carte blanche, that's quite important for me also in my art, and also how I think coming to the curating part, how I deal with my art space, Die Diele. Because I think sometimes we don't have this carte blanche moment in the life, and we have to create that. And I created one. So I can see you. And I can blind you a little bit. So here, it's a carte blanche. And then we come to my art space. That's in Sielhallenstraße in Zurich. It's on the opposite of the Denner. I don't know if you know the Denner in Sielhallenstraße. For me, it's like the most interesting sculpture museum. I don't know how you call it. Performance place. It's here on the back, and that's that. Yeah, it's really in the middle of the volcano of the gentrification. Some years ago, there was a strip club just next to it. We have still this cheapo clothing shops, Marco di Renzo on the other side. And that's the entrance or the back entrance of a building where we have a lot of artists, graphic designer, architects. And for me always was these two windows like eyes that look out of the street. So that was the first thing I was interested, because normally you have this museum situation or gallery situation. Everybody knows it. I think you go in a gallery and you tap, and they even don't look after of the computer, and you think you are just a disturbing point in this. You are a disturbing act in this whole scene, but you want to look at the art, and here we just don't have it because it's open 24 hours. It's just these two windows. It's not more. Also, every opening, somebody comes in and say, "Where is the room? Where is the space?" And I say, "Yeah, you missed it already. It's just outside." But it's quite hard. It's this is the show we have in the moment. It's from Angela Cerullo and Giorgio Bloch from Basel. It's the 75th exhibition. I run this space since 2009. Sometimes I was also thinking about what would I do when I would make their exhibition, and I'd be quite happy that I don't invite myself. I can also show a little documentation of this whole scenery. They are the card boxes of Marco di Renzo. They are the normally passengers from Die Diele. It's also the space where we have a lot of drug circulation. It's a little hint here on the door where you can go through it, and there we have a space, a hidden space where you can smoke some heroin or sniff something from the floor, and also that's why it's the name Die Diele. It's like the junkies always make fun. It's like, hey, you missed the R. It should be the Die Dealers. And but it's also this high German word, Die Diele, that we are Swiss Germans. We don't know what it is, a Diele. Just get and look it out. Or can somebody explain what a Dielen is? Okay. No. Go and Google it. And I come back to the carte blanche thing, and I think I invite artists because I like the works, and also I like mostly the persons. And I never say, yes, this work I really would be interested to see in my window. And I think also a little bit that is the opposite of a real curator and as an artist curator, because I talk with them and I help them, but they could change the whole show 1 hour before the opening. I would say, yeah, let's do it. When it's good, it's not my decision, it's your decision. And I think also art is always to do with decisions. So it's when they look at me, I can help them and I can say what is my feeling, but I never would say it's like, yeah, you have to do it like that or so. It's when they look with these eyes to me and say, then I say just like, it's not my problem. You are suffering with that. It's like, I can help you. I can talk some stories from the Diele or something, but I cannot help you with the decision. It's like, that's also why this it's a small space, but it should be a playground. That's quite important. And also, and this picture you see now, that was we get invited from the Kulturbüro in Zurich, and I took the off-prints from the risograph, and you print with the riso. You see, you have these layers, these tests and master tests, and I collected them over several years, and then I sent the scans of them to Stockholm, to Patrick Savolainen. That's the guy who writes mostly texts for Die Diele. And he wrote then over these tests, he wrote some other poetical or less poetical answers, and we showed them in the window of the Kulturbüro. And here you see a really nice one. That was an exhibition of Dominique Vierter, and it should be the title of my exhibition, like 7 years ago. I think also that's not the really common part, that we don't have an art historian, or I worked also with art historian before, but then I extended with this Patrick Savolainen, and he creates like another piece for each exhibition, and sometimes mostly it fits really well. Sometimes it's also disturbing, or we don't get it what he was talking about. After 3 times reading, you get it or not, but then you already have wrote him 3 times the whole text, so it's another part. Planche situation in my artwork. No, a little, yeah. a little advertising, yes. Tomorrow is in this in this ramen of the exhibition, in this frame. We make a performance with Pascal Siedler. I think it will end up in the garage of the whole building. He makes something with sound. He is interested with sound, and Angela and Giorgio invited him. So when somebody has time, come to Die Diele and find the way to the parking down in the UG. I think also all this carte blanche situation has also to do a little bit with improvising, and that's also something that's dark, and absolutely dark, and then you see something. And with a glass fiber, I built a little torch, glass fiber cable. I could write things down. So I had also this transmission one I did in 1 hour or something. It's based on this écriture automatique, but somehow it didn't work because it's dark. You don't see what you and you have to wait. You have to cut the paper in the dark, and then you can write again, and then you have to develop 1 or 2, and so it's like it's with écriture automatique with handbrake. And I was quite interested to see what came out, yeah. And it's a really stupid work, but it's also really Freudianisch, I think, and it's honest, yeah. I did for long times photograms. Normally they was abstract, but yeah, the ones before was also abstract, but they looked more like that, or crumbled paper, and I just mentioned that because they never show up afterwards. Yeah, there is also a peaceful, colorful side of me. The last works, I did was also combined with music. Workout, party, relax, sleep, chill, study. They are the capitals, the categories of SoundCloud. I used this year the first time SoundCloud, and I was quite impressed of how they break down our life. Yeah, I cannot say more. I also did them with this photogram style. Yeah, normally I also end up more in free music or jazz music or new classical music, and so I come to the next big band. They look good like a band. I did a show together with Michael Günzburger and Pascal Heusermann and Christian Vetter, and we produced all the works directly there in the space. And I was the young boy, the greenhorn, and I didn't have an idea, but in the end we all talked all the time about music, and I realized that Pascal was a good drummer, and Michael played once the bass, and Christian was more playing also drums, but he was also into the synthesizing. So I was thinking about, we are a nice band. I play a little bit bad at trumpet. So we did this endless summer thing in 2014. We did that in also in the suburbs in Bruck, in the Zimmermann house, and also the projection was then projected on this wall you see here in the back. And I did that also once with other artists for a grant for the Ashley Kortimann Stipendium in Thun. That's how it looked there. The whole thing at this is you don't talk before about music, you just come and you play. I skip a little bit. Skip that, and I had the opportunity to make a little show in the Conservatorium of Bern, and there I announced a little affiche that I said I do something like that with kids, and there was 4 kids or 3 and 1 plus. They showed up and they said, "Oh yes, we do that." And we tried also, normally I say we do it for 1 hour, but here with the kids it broke down after 20 minutes. I mean, 1 hour is quite a long time for a kid, and somehow it was so.
Ich habe gemerkt, dass A-Klarinette voluminöser sind als B.
wanna look some more, or we could look afterwards. Yeah, somehow I failed a little bit with that, but I think it gained also because they really didn't work together. And this little 9-year-old guy with the cello, he was just genius how he played. And I asked him also, but you didn't do that for the first time. So, no, my grandfather was a jazzer, from America, you know. No, he was really just like listen and reacted. And the girl on the clarinet was also quite good. She was playing a little bit too loud, but she found also that the other two girls not play good, so she was always complaining and talking, and she was screaming all the time like flach, flat, and afterwards I asked, yeah, what was flat? She said, yeah, the music of this. So when you see the whole thing, I think somehow it worked out. Yeah, it's another approach than this morally depressive artists. They do some schrummel artist music. But the whole failing and the whole thing with self to get somewhere, and to the Hemmung, what is it? Inhibitions, yeah, to have inhibitions, to go on a stage and sing something, brought me also to another level that I tried out several instruments, and I was also falling in love with the marimba. But after 2 days just trying out instruments, I had the idea to sing, and so I sang I was standing there and I sang for 8 minutes, and that was it. Also afterwards, I never did that before. I never did that again. And the title of this work is Anmaßungen, what means assumption, pretensions. And I think it's really also something about the failure, or let's just listen. So now I still start to sweat a little bit when I show that piece. But it was always in my work was always a little bit about success, and there are several things going on, and with this carte blanche thing, and how you get to a point where you are not embarrassed anymore. When did you try it out to sing at last? When the last thing was just like, how loud can I sing, or how high can I sing, or how low? There was always inside this thing. I just tried things out, and somehow that was also a part about my work, or is it's a part of the work, and that's a little bit also the thing with my curating, organizing thing, that I try to give this carte blanche, this two carte blanche to artists, that they can do something in the small space, that they don't have to go in a Kunsthalle, or that's also when an artist comes and a painter, for sure it's that the painter painted his studio and then he brings a picture, but sometimes I think it's more about that. I think a little bit it's two-dimensional, but we have 60 centimeter in dimension, so you have almost two pictures on the left, on the right. You could also do something with layers, and you can also fail. I mean, it's at Langstrasse. It could be that they break your window one day after the opening. I have next year 10-year jubilee and also 10 windows broken. Yeah, no insurance anymore. So I come back to the failure thing. So when I was in Paris, you have the Cité des Arts. I don't know if you know the Cité des Arts. You get mostly well paid as an artist. You have a really nice view of the Seine, and every evening the SDFs, the person without a home, come, and they have a little arrangement and can come and sleep there at 8, and they have to leave at 7:30 in the morning. And above there are 300 artists. They are well paid there in the studios and try to thinking about the world and where are the problems. But also, you know, it as an artist, you can quite hardly just end there where the other guys sleep on the cardboards and lay there, and yeah. So I started to collect these cardboards. Sometimes they put it somewhere, or sometimes they let it there. So I took one up, and I developed them somehow with acrylic spray. So I just gave these cardboards two colors, one a little bit colorful and one darker, with a little from the side, so you saw more the contrast of the whole situation, how it's built. So you see the steps of the normal person, or the elbows of the guys who use that as a mattress. The title of this work was Faire un carton. I did it 2015. Faire un carton, it's also an expression for to have a great success in French. It comes from shooting, when you shoot a carton, you meet the target. So in Paris I had also a lot of time to walking around, and I started quite early to photograph this stone assembler. Quite also mentioning we have this SoundCloud thing with chill, party, workout, sleep. But there is no place to rest in a city. In Bern we have a little chair. They also took the benches away, and there is a chair and there is Notfallsitz. So it's quite strange. And this work is human nature, but it's based on this hostile architecture. In different, you will see it also. And when you come from skateboarding, you will also know these places where they block your nice curbs, where you can grind or slide. But I was more concentrating about this area where you put back to nature. So often they use stones for this new architecture. So they take some concrete and put some stones there, or here on the right side there was just concrete. On the left someone built a little island in this thing that was normally for plants, and that's something also comes often up with my work, is the idea about the art brut moment moment. So some guy has to do that and has to think about that, but he is not really an artist, and he's creating something. And when you just would take that and put in an off space or in a gallery, then it would be a nice island, like James Bond Island, or I don't know, with this moors, yeah. And that looks like a cannonball. And here you see also this, to bring the nature back in the city, that costs you somehow more than to just build a new building. And just that nobody can sleep there. And this art brut moment I also found in another work. I think it's my last, and I gave up. I found that at home when I moved to Zurich several years ago, and then when I came back to my father's apartment, I realized that he make quite nice sculptures, but he was already retired, and he's not an artist. Or he sees himself as an artist, but more in the Andy Goldworthy style, so some branches outside. And but at home he was always cleaning up in one point, and the other he was making more chaos, and he was not really living in this apartment. He was more a floor down at his girlfriend's place. So I always, when I came, I was photographing his apartment over 4 years. It's 10 years ago. I started to photograph it 4 years. I don't know the dates, and I realized there really the point of this contemporary. There was this time before the ceramic. There was the Zimmerpflanzen time, the art in the art scene. It was also a little bit before the yoga matte. But I found that everything at home, I mean, there's this Isaac Genskin, yeah, it's not bad, but my father was quite good. That was a little bit afterwards. He was really avant-garde in that. With the cord, you see that, the lamp. Sometimes it was also quite clean, but with a good Botschaft. But sometimes it was a mess, yeah. But that was still again the Zimmerpflanzen. And this thing was also about to make sculptures, or that's a possibility of photography, where I think, and that's also quite why I be still interested in photography. You have the possibility to capture something in a moment, and also to declare it as a sculpture. I mean, here you see how it changed, but it's the same table, it's the same situation, just 1 year after or so. And that's ongoing work, or no, now I've stopped for 10 years to photograph, but I'm still working with these pieces, with this photography. It's a collection about 500 photographs, like 100 you can use. I don't know why he did that. Yeah. So clean. I showed that also in several positions. First I had a little diorama where you can click through it, and then I printed several out as a inkjet print of 180 of 240. You see it here on the wall. And I did also a little edition with some poems from Simon Lappert. And once in 2014 I invited also my father to to do it again in the museum. He was already 65 or something, 68, and I took him and all the stuff he didn't have to use for 1 month or 1.5 months, and put him in the car and put all the stuff in the car through to the museum in Thun, and put the stuff in the museum and get to the coffee and talking with friends, and he was building up these sculptures. And the title is All the Things You Are, because they are all the things you are. It's the belongings you have, but also it's a little bit of freedom when you cannot choose your father. You are that, but yeah, you have to be. And yeah, that's the next project. I started to photograph my studio over 3 years, and that's a little exposure. Die Diele is still alive. Die Diele never dies. Tomorrow the performance I talked about, and the next Christmas exhibition is on the 22nd of December. I bought. That's mostly, I think. Normally I really gave up the directions, how I say it. I'd be open and be happy when something is developing in the window. But on the around Christmas, I have a little bit the possibility to make a Christmas exhibition, and we had several things with candle dipping. That's a quite traditional thing in Switzerland, that you make candles. And we met 1 week in other art space. We did some artist candles, and we showed them. Next time we show artworks I bought on Ricardo. I had to somehow, after 10 years you get a little bit depressed when you do that fundraising and thing. And during this time I had a little bit to found a balance, and so I started to collect artworks on Ricardo. And I also invited, for this show I invited 10 poets and poetinnen. And they do a little poem for this collection. So that would be the main part of the exhibition. So when you are around on Christmas, come on the 22 of December at 6 to Die Diele. Thank you.
Just a second, thank you. If I manage to arrive there, thank you. Oh, almost. Came a little bit trapped in the way.
I still show you a little bit my screensaver.
Yes, please.
That was Andreas' show here. Andreas is here. It's already gone. There was nothing in that.
Yes, sorry for the cable issue. We had wireless, but then we prefer the one with the cable. Well, thank you so much, Livio, for showing us some of your work. I think during the last years you have quite a collection of experiences at the Die Diele and with all your trajectory of exhibitions. So this is really just a glimpse of all his career. And yeah, I like to open the questions. I have some questions myself, but please keep your questions. And yeah, so I mean, it's fascinating. I love your presentation, starting with the sponsored coiffure. We love your picture. We all love your look and your statement of fashion and photography and the construction. And I myself have, in my art collection, I have one of your photographs. And I want to make a question more from the curatorial artistic practice and how do you merge this? Because it seems you divided, or I wonder, when you curate, do you feel like because you have artistic practice yourself, you feel this is just extension of your artistic practice? I remember enjoying very much exhibition you curate, was called O Vision in Panama at the Volkerkunden Museum in Zurich. This was, if you haven't seen it, it was an exhibition that was juxtaposed with inside the exhibition. There were like pieces from contemporary practices, but in the context of a formal historical exhibition of in the Ethnology Museum, and this gives a meta lecture of the potential fiction of the narratives of history, let's say the subjectivity of history. And yeah, I was very impressed by the exhibition. So I like to, if you would like to tell us just a little bit, but then at the end, I mean, with such exhibition as example, but my question is more about how do you merge this, your curatorial practice and your artistic practice, or if you just divide it?
No, it's also why I try to make this little slalom back and forwards from my practice to the Diele. And when I started, then it was clearly that it's not. I really said, okay, here I be, or try to be the artist. Here I try to be the curator. But I think also when you look at this collection of photos where you show on the back, then you will see several things. And also when you see my or the Christmas exhibition, they are mostly like packed with really deep pathological fun. I don't know. And that's also a little bit the same thing in the Völkerkundemuseum. There I get also invited from a really great artist, Andreas Häuser. So it was not really my point, but I think we did also something that I started also, yeah, I didn't get so far, but I started to curate because nobody was waiting on me, and I saw this nice, I have my studio in this space and I saw these nice windows and they was just empty, and I had the need to do something there, to show something. A window without presentation, it's like out of order. So it has to be in order, you have to put something in. And I did also bigger things in Bern where I was the curator, but I always was a little bit sneaking out of this term curator, because I saw me more as the organizer. So I be the poor guy who has to get the money, who has to clean up after the artist comes and have to make the graphic or make the photographs and all that stuff. So
that sounds like independent curator.
Okay. Yeah, and also for me, it's not. I don't want to go in this direction as a museum curator or something. It's still a playground. And during this time, I did these shows in Bern several years ago. I talked once with the art historian, and she just shouted at me like, "Yeah, you can do that. You are an artist." And just in this time, I was like, "Why you cannot do that?" Just put some artists together and don't have a theme and make a good show. I mean,
what did she say? Sorry.
You can do that. You are an artist.
She's giving you, she's allowing you or something.
A little bit. I'm not so fast in these things, but I was a little bit like, yeah, just why I cannot do that? And that's a little bit this narrow-minded thing. It's like, yeah, for sure, you studied artistry, you don't have this freedom like I had. I have it. And so, yeah, so I'm not so embarrassed to make a bad show. And often when you have good artists around you, and you can curate them well. I mean, curating comes from curare in the Latin, and that means to take care of something, of someone. And that's the most part of curating, to clean up after the artist and to help them and to make a little bit decisions and to help them to nail the picture.
So let's say you have empathy to your colleagues, in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Will you tell us how do you select the friends with you who you work with? I mean, are they friends, or do you choose them by subject, or how do you produce a show at the Die Diele?
How I produce a show? Yeah, I think the friends I showed already. Not everyone, but no. I was thinking the first year when I did the Diele, I thought a lot about that, and I was also thinking about how can I go out of this network thing. And I invited one artist, Niklaus Wenger from Bern, and said, okay, in 1 month there is the next opening and you have to decide who's the artist. And that was really the artistic thinking. So it's so when you it's more artistic as curatorial. It was a concept of that. And so we made 10 shows when every artist chose the other one, like an avalanche, like came down. But the thing was, the artist mostly just had 1 month to prepare the show, and that's quite short, yeah. So we stopped.
And do you still separating then, as a question, when you present your portfolio, do you separate, this is my curatorial work and this is my artistic work, or do you have another terminology to involve art projects in which you produce exhibitions?
I don't have a curatorial portfolio. So it's always the artistic portfolio, and there is somewhere written, like, I see it a little bit like as a hobby, the dealer thing, the curatorial stuff. It's a little bit more work.
But so you still divide, my question is more like you divide it. You don't put it like, you don't say this is my artistic practice that involves doing shows, but you divide it, okay.
At my own, in my personal working, I don't divide it so hard, but in the end I invite artists and they have to make their work normally. So yeah. And I never try to get something, when I want money from the city or from the canton, then I try it as Die Diele, and often also I failed as artist.
So should we open questions? Do you have questions? Livio is very happy to answer any existential question you have around. Come on, come on.
I was just wondering that still there is a lot of photography involved in your work, or like the photogram, but still you open it up you loosen it kind of. Also, you mentioning this carte blanche aspect, and I was wondering what the photography education was for you, and how you then went on, or because you still have like a good eye, I guess. You see these things in Paris and so on, but you don't work on a coherent photographic oeuvre in a way. If maybe this is an interpretation from the outside, but it looks like that. And I was just wondering if you just also intentionally loosen it up and free yourself from a more coherent photographic approach. If this was intentionally, or
I mean, yeah, I was at a photo class in Zurich, and that was really open. And I was the first bachelor. I was really like the first generation after the hype. So anyway, somehow a little bit lost, I would say. We was also the first bachelor, and for me was the photography was like the entrance ticket to art, and I learned a lot. About looking and how to make capturing something, but for me was quite shortly I came to the point when you are in a theoretical class and talking about Jeff Wall, and I like Jeff Wall, not that, but it's for me it was like, yeah, it's made with 100 of little pictures and then merged together and it looks like a hokusai. It's like, yeah, what else, man? It's a good picture, pam, finito. I often had this, I was quite bored after a half hour looking at a picture, and I think also the time is moving on and we are really trained to look at a lot of pictures and we are fast, and with all this picture we see today, and I opened it up quite fast to video, and I never thought about to I never thought about that. I think photography, it's like my main medium, and I also did a lot with a 5.4 inch, with a really slow camera, where you go in the dark room and put the negative in and going through. Then you made like 4 pictures in a day, but you had this quality, and you learn to look also for that. So I think it was a really good apprenticeship or study time with photography, but now I use it as a medium. And I'd be more interested in video, and how you saw in the last. Now in the moment it has to do with the sound that comes in, and yeah. But the photograms, they are still here somehow. 2 times in a year I have to go to the dark room, and not that dark room, the photographic dark, and I have to develop some pictures, yeah, and to produce some ideas I had before.
I have a question.
Thank you.
You said you saw these 2 windows because, if I understood right, your office or atelier or something like that is in front of it. You saw these windows and you decided
It's above, yeah.
above.
Yeah.
But was it just because of that? Because well, there is empty windows all over the city. Or did you look for the chaos? Did you on purpose try to find a place that was kind of chaotic, that brings to life these 2 windows in some way? Was it on purpose, or was just like, okay, I have this,
No, it
I
was
work here, it's easy, well, why not?
I
don't know.
It was the opposite. I'm originally from Bern, and I worked once as a student, or no, it was before student time, in a shop in Bern in the Kramgasse. I don't know if you know Bern a little bit. It's this in the main road, you know, this where you have this Lauben, these canals, and all the people just walking up and down, and shopping, and there is nothing more. Or Bern, it's so, but it's also not. There are still these small shops also. It's not just everything Houndam, and they have a lot of vitrines in this Laubengange, in these arches. And that was the first time I thought about to have a vitrine as a space, as an art space. Also, cause I was thinking about to disturb a little bit the people in the daily life, in the daily routine, and also in Bern, when you are just shopping and you walking up and down, to have something that is not connected to the normal life. And I think that is this. I found that then here in Zurich, somehow really on the opposite. How I said, first we had the sex shop or the strip club, dancing next to the door, but it's a mixed audience that is coming by, and sometimes also artists. Now you see here on the right on the window there was a little letter, and it's just written on the name of the artist and the title, but you never will find okay, she wrote here. But for me, you will not find like a www.diediele.ch. So it should be still this breaking point of the normal life. So most people now know it after 10 years, and the junkies also know it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I imagine the people that's walking around there, because I know the street, and it's a street. Even if you are in Langstrasse, you're always like, there's all kinds of people, and a lot of artists there, like musicians or artists that go for different things. But the street is a very complicated street. It's a street that you don't see so well, like other streets where there are more bars or something. It's kind of like the people that walks more there. It's like the dealers, the drug addicts, the prostitutes, the drunks. So I was wondering if part of this chaos was something that you were looking to be part of the windows, like being put it together, connected all together, or it's just zufall?
It's a little
That
bit
because you work there and like why not?
it was more like also the just it's easier when you have the studio
Yeah.
upstairs and you need a hammer or a nail, then you can go up and come down. So I think I never would searching another vitrine in Zurich or so.
Yeah.
It was really this occasion that I found there, yeah. And but I also found it quite fun to have it there, cause yeah, you have this dinner. I told it was closed then during lunchtime. Now they are open since 2 years, but it was really like the weirdest dinner I ever saw. And you have the drug addicts, you have the guys who go to the strip club, you have the prostitutes, you have the artists and architects going to this space. So you have the old ladies, they live there. It's really like you have the melange, the mix of everything. Yeah, that was the part that was interesting me, and also to ask more question or to. The third exhibition I did was a young man, Christian Schacket from Bern. He was 76 years old, and he was like an icon of graphic design, I think. I didn't knew that. I just saw this aquarels he did aquarels where he was reading in the newspaper this shortened Telefonannoncen where you can call like Französisch, I don't know. You know that once in the newspaper you had these short ones like this, or Weihnachtsengel blasen die Lieder. I don't know, and he was looking at them and he drawing little aquarelle postcards with them. And I saw that once in Bern in the book, and then I invited him and he came. And the first week I came down, there was 2 prostitutes in front of the window, and they was quite confused. But the other one was just like, "No, I think it's art." So they was really thinking about, oh, there is a new a new brothel going up here with new announcement. Because just on the next vitrine you had the pictures of the photographed naked women. Or once Roland Rose did a show here, and he just let disappear the whole 2 windows, because he just made a camouflage of the Marco Di Renzo's shop on the right, and on the left on this here when you see the Textilreinigung, and you didn't saw it anymore, and everyone in the building was quite complex, like, and I hear also from other people, now you make a commercial for Marco Di Renzo, and but the guys from the laundry came and, where do you do the laundry? On the 2nd floor or where? So no, don't be. It's just art. We stay here.
Are you planning any publication of the compilation of works you presented at Die Diele?
Yeah, it should be after 10 years. It could be, but yeah.
Quite a lot of work. Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Could be that I make a Instagram account. No, it would be nice, but also with the texts we have from Patrick and other texts. But I like also this documentation here, where you have the trash, and it's always a thing about money and time.
So if you don't know it, here you can get this invitation for the exhibition tomorrow, the vernissage. It's at 6 o'clock.
Performance.
It's a performance.
At
Here
8
says
o'clock.
vernissage. Yeah.
No, it's the small part. It's the rear window.
Okay. Yeah. Rear window number 5.
Yeah.
Mit Pascal Siedler. And yeah, it's in Sirhallenstrasse 4, which is just the street where there is this porno film play. Is it there? No.
No.
I know that was our place. Yeah, sorry.
It's on the opposite side of Rossi Bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you know Rossi Bar, so then you can check out the Die Diele.
And also this rear window, it's because I don't have the thing with have opening hours or so, but it's always open. But I thought sometimes I try to extend the exhibition and then make a second date. And so I offer the artist often let's do a concert or something. And also in this case, they have a carte blanche. So now they invited Pascal Siedler, a painter from Zurich, and he will do a sound performance.
What about your transition to performatic practices? I mean, and the work you share us about this singing exercise. Are you in your future projects? Are you planning to do more mixed media works that involve sound, video, and body, voice as well?
Could be. Ich bin now eidgenössisch diplomierter Performance Artist because I appeared in the Bone Festival last weekend, and I don't know if you know the Bone Festival. That was quite a traditional performance festival. This year, San Keller curated a part of that. He invited artists. They work with music, and we played like 4 evenings. Music just freshly improvised, and it was quite sculptural. So it could be, I don't know, I think it's...
What are
there are also several videos where I show up as a... That's not just that, I try to short it up, so...
What are your future projects that you like to share us? What are your planning up next? Artistic projects?
I don't have really something just prepared, but next week I'll be in Cantonale. There I show these stone sculptures, the human nature, and they're also quite special and framed. So come to Bern. There is a lot going on next Thursday. And I'm still working on several things. It's like all these layers. When you saw all this, I was often struggling, like, when I would collect all my works together, it looks like a group show. And I was always a little bit disappointed because a painter, he just has his paintings and they look similar, and and I think after several years it comes together somehow, and that's the thing, it makes me happy. So that was a question.
Yes.
My question is, if you like this chaos so much, and also like from the selection of the pictures, why is it always so tidy at your openings? Why is it always so clean?
Is it clean on the?
But I never saw this beautiful trash in front of the windows at the openings. Always afterwards, but at the opening somebody's always cleaning. Why?
No, I gave up with that. I clean the windows. I think that's the director's job. I have to clean the windows.
So you would like to know the schedule of the cleaning hours?
No, but sometimes we make openings when on Thursday, and then on Friday is the paper collecting, and no, then they bring the papers from the house, and it's getting higher and higher, and I don't make something about that. Sometimes the artist comes and says, it's disturbing my masterpiece, and I say, yeah, come on, it's part of it. I be quite open there, and and sometimes also they come and snore some coke during the opening on the steps. 10 people inside, 10 people outside, and they come still there. And we did it this year. I don't know if you heard about this Vetmo store. We opened it in. There was this thing when I invited an art space from Lausanne, Dim Sun. Normally they do exhibitions on the flea market in Lausanne, on the Place de République. And I invited them, as artists, because they're also artist curators, and they did a show. They made a vêtement. Do you know vêtement? Like this high-end fashion label, and they copied vêtement quite good. And there was also during this time someone broke the windows, a junkie broke the windows, and they did another piece on it, a wooden piece or a metal piece on it, and we combined and we did, dated the finissage of this thing, because we didn't announce it as an art project. We did a silent opening like that. And that was also this nice part of Zürich who wrote then, finally Vedmo is showing up in Zurich. It was also Sommerloch, and so they really get trapped a little bit. Yeah, they was quite annoying. Yeah, they was pissed off. But yeah, they didn't ask the right questions. So the finissage was then combined with the whole cardboard collecting of Marco Di Renzo. So we was lying there in the cardboards during the opening. So we used it, yeah, from time to time.
I was quite interested in your project with the posters you did with like the sponsoring thing. And my question is, what was actually the artwork? Like, was it the participated process with the people? Like, you had to talk to them, you had to explain your project, or was it at the end the picture you had, the printed picture? But I guess it was.
No, I mean it's always the end product. I sell it also.
You're sure?
Sure. No, I mean that's always the question, or it's where is the we do just a little. I did also some festivals in this little stage in my window, and once really the guy on the bar just quitted on the same day. The photographer quitted on the same day, and I was photographing everything, filming, did the bar, was announcing all the people, was building up the stage, building down the stage. It was everything. We had 20 artists who did something, and Tim Zulauf came, and he was a prof at the HKB, and he came to me and was like, quite nice performance you do. And I was like, so happy you say that to me. I was just on the end, you see, like the shaking and you don't have time to go to pee, you don't have, yeah. So it's always the process is behind, yeah. So I see that's a part of it, but it's also the same when you paint a picture. It's like how you bring color on a canvas. That's the art. On the end, you have the artwork. I think a little bit.
And maybe another question. And how is the process when, like, the photographer has to take the picture? Then are you like announcing the rules, or is it the photographer? Because you say it's like carte blanche, or are you saying like, okay, yeah, well, the picture is good, but let it do like that, and then maybe change the background or something?
In this sponsored thing, huh?
Yes.
No, it's always. I mean, this gesture with the hand on the beard is just genius, and that was the idea of the other guy, yeah. And I mean, I studied photography. I also sometimes model it as a model during my like cheapo for the Salvation Army or things like that. I was the dead case, the Todesfall of this area. I don't know. They will come up next. Yeah, no, that's years ago, but every year in December the Salvation Army comes. So I know a little bit how it is in front of the camera, but I like it more on the back of the camera. But there is always like, yeah, I did also some portrait works, and it's a hard job to make a good portrait and to talk with artists, and I had to do that also, but I'd be more the landscape photographer, and so then I really enjoy to do nothing and stay there and let them a little bit direct, yeah. And often they are quite good. I mean, they are professionals. They do that like every day. I mean, the last one, it's in the Niederdörfli, Foto Beiler. She was so good. It was one whole mess in this. And they did quite good, yeah. So I don't have to do something. It's really, and often also let them choose the picture, what they want. And with the graphic design, it's the same. I go to the print shop and say, yeah, can you do it? And I mean, it would be cheaper, but they use Illustrator to make the poster. It's quite. I never saw that.
Thank you.
So any other question? Last question? No? Okay. So Livio, if you don't mind, I mean, if you have a last statement to share with us, it's now.
No more question? You sure? Nobody was thinking about
Well,
why I was writing down lumberjack in my. I was waiting of this question. Why the fuck you're?
Do you want to share some last work?
I can show you a last video when it. I always put it wrong, and it's just 15 minutes.
Oh my God, no. No, we can continue. No, because we had the technicians working not so long, but
Okay,
yeah.
the title is 34 years, 15 minutes, 31. And I was 40 years old when I cut down this tree, and it took me 15 minutes, 31 seconds. That's why I wrote down the lumberjack. Now it was falling out of my presentation. But the sound didn't work, huh? You're already gone?
How are you cutting that tree?
Because the sound is quite important for that picture. But we don't have to look the whole. Get to the
What that poor tree did to you. It looked like you really wanted to destroy it little by little, from the branches to cut it completely.
No. I was almost crying when I had to take the branches away, because otherwise it would get in my hair. And I saw it. He was already a little bit dead. Yeah, but I was really almost crying. It's just my egomanic idea to cut one's tree down with the axe, with the axe, just for an art piece.
exactly. Yeah. I think artists don't necessarily have a moralistic position. Yeah, I also remember Livio has several videos he didn't show us, but he had a lot of videos. I remember showing one contemplative video in exhibition I did experimental video, in this one intangible to the tangible, and it was a very long contemplative, I think, from a drunk guy who was took by the ambulance. I don't remember if in Italy or something. So if you want to check out all his video essays, you can see it in his website. I guess they are there.
Vimeo,
In
yeah.
Vimeo, yeah, he's actively in Vimeo. So
My newest is in feature length. It's 90 minutes. The view out of my room where I live. It's the Langstrasse, but I didn't show it now today.
you want to show? No. No, is it okay? So very last question. No. So we can continue sharing Livio, and he will tell us everything you want to know in private. And okay. So thank you so much, Livio, for your presentation, for sharing with us your work, your Die Diele curatorial practice also, and thank you so much for joining and coming to the Textil Werkbereich. As I mentioned you, this was the last session from this project of the Art Talks in Dynamo, and I would love to invite you to some drinks and some snacks, and hopefully see you other time. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Livio.